How's it going, everybody? It has been a while, hasn't it? This is Nathan. I'm the sales manager at Kioti Equipment Company. We are Northern Kentucky's 5-paw premier coyote dealer. And we have finally, after a year of waiting, we have finally got the new and improved, redesigned RX series. And this is a huge deal for us. So Kioti has, in their lineup, they have pretty much all the bases covered now with the new release of the HX, the big guy. The RX at that point was the oldest model in the lineup without a redesign. And it's something that we sell a whole lot of around here. Here in Northern Kentucky, we don't do a whole lot of what I would call big tractors above 100 horsepower. It's just not a huge market for it. We do a couple every year. But the 75 horse class, which is really popular, we sell a whole bunch of. So we have a ton of them out there, and we've been waiting for this redesign all year long since we drove one at the dealer meeting end of last year. And we're super excited. It has all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of stuff that they've changed and improved and made different. And it's just something that I think anybody who has an RX already is going to see and like, man, this is really cool. Or if you're in the market for these, it is absolutely going to blow some manufacturers out of the water, especially for the price. So we're super excited about it. I'm going to walk you from the front to the back and show you all kinds of little things, intricacies, talk about some specs, maybe talk about some money, and we'll go from there. So starting from the front, the new RX7340, and by the way, the 7340 is the only one that's out right now. Everything's not hit the warehouse at the same time, so they have released this in every version. So there's a 66 and there's a 73, just like the previous generation. There is a cab and an open station, just like the previous generation, but not all that has hit the country yet. So right now we only have this one, but the same rules that the last one went by, this one's going to go by. So you're going to get a 66 or a 73 option. This is the larger of the two, and usually we sell a lot more 73s just because the price has always been so close that most people just tend to jump up to it. I'm back here hiding in the back lot next to the scrap pile, trying to avoid the noise of the business day, but we still have our Kioti skid steer running. So if you hear some noise, my bad. It's hard to get away on a busy day like this. So from the front to the back, there's a lot of cool stuff we've seen. So the bucket is the same, 82-inch bucket, standard equipment, but they've added some things. So if we look through here, you're going to see these little weld-on plates that are hookups for bucket hooks. So now there's an option for a bucket hook. There's 3 on the top of here that you can add. Really cool. So we've welded on bucket hooks for years. It's always been something we did in-house. Now we can just bolt them on. I'm sure the assembly guys are going to like that. There's also some little hook positions on the back. There's little wings to hook to, which is pretty neat. I would be careful about putting too much weight on these. You're going to bend these out, but it's just nice. It's a very practical bucket. They've already put some things on that a lot of people add anyway. On the loader, this is the new KL7340 loader. It's got a great redesign. The loader lift capacity is listed as 3,300 pounds to full height at pen. It seems like that's too even of a number, but that's what's printed, so we're going to go by that. I wouldn't be surprised if that got more precise later, whether it's higher or lower. Very substantial for this size tractor. 3,300 pounds to full height is on the top end of what you're going to see in that 75 horse class. It's really easy to price out the 75 horse class because everybody makes one. You're going to see everybody has a tractor that's 74 horsepower, 73 horsepower, 74.5 horsepower, because 75 is your cutoff where the EPA starts to require more complicated emissions control systems with diesel exhaust fluid. So this one doesn't have to have that. You've got what we call simple emissions. It's a deep diesel particulate filter. It's going to be accomplished one of 2 ways, either like this diesel particulate filter, or you're going to have some systems with diesel oxidation catalysts that are basically like complicated diesel, what's the word I'm looking for? Catalytic converters. So it's, skin the cat one way or the other, but you don't have to add the fluid. You don't have to have that crazy complicated system that the bigger tractors have to have. So really popular. This is going to compete with everybody's 75 horse. Anyway, we're going to keep going. So the new loader got some cool decals on it. You're going to see some similarities. So side greasable pins, that's always been normal. This is self-leveling out of the box, but the self-leveling system looks a lot more integrated on the old loader, the 7320. It was a kind of a square tubing self-leveling system that went through, and it looked like it was an add-on, but you couldn't buy it without it. It was always on there. On this one, it looks like it's more integrated, and it looks way more substantial. So nice heavy duty top in there. There's also some cool things like this little side access plate for storage in here. You pull these wing nuts and you're gonna be able to get in there. These are steel, not little plastic covers, so that's pretty cool. People can use that as storage. There's other optional accessories on here. So ride control is now an option. It's an accumulator valve that you can turn on or off to help control the ride bouncing as you drive down the road with any kind of weight in the front. So that's a really good option now. And obviously third function is still an option on here, but they have made the loader a lot more integrated for it out of the box. More and more people are getting third function kits now, so it's something that they just kind of pretty much add without the expensive part. You're gonna still add that valve underneath, but if you look in the cab, the joystick is already made for it, so that doesn't have to change. And actually on the loader itself, where they've got these lines built into the tube of the loader, they've already got fittings for it, and electric. I assume that's for the ride control, but there's already stuff built into the lines for the third function kit, which means the third function kit's actually a little bit cheaper than the old one. A couple $100 less, so that's gonna be cool. So 3,300 pound full height pin, still got your skid steer quick attach normal, still got your nice side access grease pins, that's all normal. Still got the nice quick attach system with the spring loaded plates, that's normal. So there's some things that we really like. Oh, one more thing that this thing does that's really cool. There is a shutoff valve for the loader drop function. So it used to be this would come with these two bars that bolted up here, and when that loader was up in the air, you would take those bars off and stick them in here if you were working under it, so that it couldn't come down on your head if somebody came and pushed the stick forward, or if a loader line blew or something. But now there's just a shutoff, so you just hit the lever and shut it off, and it can't send fluid back and it can't fall on you. Much more convenient, really nice. It's something we see on the HX. That's pretty cool. Besides that, let's go to the back first, and then we're gonna go into the cab, and then we'll look under the hood. So if we walk around to the back, one thing I want to hit on the way is the fuel tank. This would take a keen eye to notice, but if you look at these fuel tanks, they are now taller. It looks to me like they're taller than the previous generation. So the previous generations were wider than they are tall. And the one complaint you would get is if this thing really got less than a quarter or a third of a tank on fuel, and you started getting on some hillsides that we definitely have here in our area, your fuel light would come on and your buzzer would go off if you got on the wrong side. If it would drain to one tank and get out of the other tank, it would just start to set the alarm off. With the tanks being taller, hopefully it fixes some of that. I don't have enough experience or hours on one to know, but I think them being taller is gonna help. And you have that nice side access for the fill, which is always nice. Going around to the back, so the tires are the same. That's a regular 16.9x30, 11.224 on the front, so that's not changed. You have the same tire options from the last RX. The first thing we're gonna notice back here, and the biggest technical change on the tractor, probably in my opinion, is the electro-hydraulic 3-point hitch. So the previous generation RX was just a regular mechanical hydraulic system. Pretty complex mechanical hydraulic system. It had draft control, had some cool things you could do with it, but this is a full electro-hydraulic 3-point. So one benefit of that is inside the cab, there's a lot of stuff you can do with it and fine-tune your adjustments. The other benefit is you can do some pretty cool stuff from the rear, all with buttons. So we can raise and lower the 3-point hitch from the back with this button here. It's on both sides. And then you can actually turn the PTO on or adjust the PTO, bump it from the back. So you're trying to hook an implement up, you just hit the PTO real quick, it'll move it a little and hopefully line up and let your drive shaft go on. So that's pretty cool. Some people are gonna say that system's a little more complicated, and they're probably right, but it's not like it's a new thing. A lot of other manufacturers have done it on their real high-end machines. So we're excited to see it. It's going to give us a lot of fancy things we can do. I'll show you in the cab. On the back, this is going to look really similar. So you've got all the standard Kioti stuff. You've got your extendable links and your pin type check chains. You've got your bevel gear leveling rod. You've got your clevis type drawbar out of the box, your flip up PTO cover. All that stuff's already in. Your external lift cylinders. The 3-point lift capacity on this has been upped a little. It's a little over 4,300 pounds. I've got the spec here, let's see. 4,327 pounds, and that is 24 inches off. So remember, when you're looking at these, some manufacturers are going to give you lift capacity at the ball ends. Some of them are going to give you the lift capacity 2 feet off, and that's really the one that's kind of considered standard. So 4,300 pounds, 2 feet off, it's gone up with that new system, and it's substantial. So I encourage you to look at that when you're looking at them. Other things when we're looking back here, you've got new fenders with new LED taillights that are pretty cool. It's the same deal as the old RX, where these are their own replaceable setup. So if you bust one of these on a tree or something, this is going to be a much cheaper to replace than trying to get this whole fender replaced. And on the front as well, there's some new LEDs, as well as on the outside of the cab. So this cab is probably what I'd consider the second biggest change, other than that 3-point hitch. And there's a whole lot going on in there that we're going to go over. But on the outside of the cab, you're going to see LED lights, as well as on the front. You've got a set of 2 on each side, and then you've got a side marker that's LED. There's also an optional kit for side cab lights. So that's another thing, is if you're driving through the dark, it's pitch black out in the field, the front lights do a really good job of illuminating the front, but there's going to be a certain spot where you're not going to be able to see on the right, which I had one customer tell me, you know, they drive next to a pond, and if they're out next to that pond and it gets dark, they're worried they're going to go in. So that side light's going to be a pretty cool option. The other things we're going to look at out here, there are some really cool new steps, which I know sounds stupid, but they're a really nice steel color, and they've got good grip to them, and you have a double step on both sides, which has been really, really nice to walk in and out of. So that's the outside. You know what, before we get on the inside, let's look under the hood, because the inside is going to be probably the most dramatic. We'll save it for last. Obviously the cab can be accessed from both sides. I know that sounds goofy, but some of these you can't do that. We're going to lower our loader down, and we'll get under that hood. So the hood used to be a rod that you pulled. Now it's a button, and it pops open. You do not have to move the grill guard. Where am I at here? Oh, they made a hook. There's a little access hole built into the grill guard for it. So this is going to be largely similar. If you looked at the old RX, it was 148 cubic inch, 4-cylinder, common rail diesel with a turbo. This is the same. It is the engine and driveline are largely the same as the old model. The rear end's a little bit different on this to accommodate that new 3-point hitch. But the engine and driveline are the tried and true. It's the same one they've had for years. It's the same one they put in their track loaders. We've had great luck out of it. It's got tons of power. Your PTO horsepower on this is well over 60. So we have plenty of people that run this tractor and pull 4x5 hay balers and small flex wing cutters, and you know, it's got all the power in the world for that, for a tractor this size. But when they redesigned this hood and they did a couple other things, they moved a couple of things under here, and there's some improvements. So the battery's still up front, easy access for jumping or tending, air filter's still up front. They've got a nice shield around the radiator screen now, so you can pull the screen out from the side, but there's a shield to keep all the chafe from coming in and getting in that radiator. On the side access here, they've given us a shield to protect some of the components, but you still have easy access to the oil filter, fuel filter, water drain. There's a primer up top, engine oil dipsticks right there. All that can be done even with the hood up, even with the loader on. And then you've got some fuse panel access and stuff. So everything's easy to get to, really simple to maintenance. These newer tractors are designed to accommodate the loader, whereas I would say older tractors, a loader was kind of an afterthought. And you're still going to see that design today on some of them, where you have 3-piece hoods or stuff's just not easy to get to without taking the whole loader off. So we're gonna have to climb up here to shut this baby because we're not tall enough. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so last but not least, I would say, you know, the 3-point hitch is the biggest change, but this cab is the second. Maybe in some people's opinion, this is going to be the most important thing. First off, it's huge. It is way bigger than the last one. And I would say that they did that for comfort, but also to accommodate this instructor seat here, which this is not standard equipment. This is the only thing that's not on here that standard. If you price one of these, just remember this is going to be a separate option. It's about 600 bucks. It's really high quality. It's got a seat belt built in and a backrest. It folds up. That's going to be something that you'd have to add, but everything else you see here on this tractor is standard equipment. We didn't add any other accessories on this yet. This cab is big. It's what they call a 5-pillar sit-up, meaning there's a pillar over here on this side and a smaller door, and that side gets a bigger door. The primary reason for that is visibility. So if we look through that side, which we will in a minute, you're just going to be able to see more without a pillar in your way. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff in here. So as we climb up, still got our 2 steps, nice and easy. The first thing you notice, and this is going to sound stupid, but the first thing you notice, the floor in this is really comfy. They've got like 2 inches of padding, which I'm going to assume is you know, for sound, but you've also just got a whole lot of floor comfort. It sits really, really wide. Let's close this up, we can see. There we go. So sits really well, sits really wide. You've got plenty of room on both sides. I'm 6 foot, probably 260 now that I've got a kid, and I can easily fit in here. But all the little technical things, there's a lot of little changes. So the seat that I'm sitting in is now air ride, as opposed to an old mechanical suspension like we have on the previous gen model. Nice padded armrests. You've also got lumbar you can adjust, so the seat moves forward and back as well as lumbar. When we turn this over, look at this screen. Nice little Kioti intro, and then you've got a full LCD screen that's going to give you all kinds of data. So you can obviously tell if you're in forward or reverse. You can tell what range and gear you're in. You're going to have a little bit of adjustment for settings, so we can see fuel consumption. Let's see here, we'll go through the modes. Yeah, fuel. Oh, it's beeping at us, we're low. You can see the DPF temperature, you can see the soot load mass, see how close you are to a regen. You can see how many liters per hour you're consuming, and you should be able to change that over to gallon. I'm not sure, I haven't messed with that too much. You've also got your beacon light button down here, and you've got your road flashers on really nice high quality buttons. This whole cluster is tilt steering, and the old system was a tilt steering with a little tooth, right? So you'd grab the tooth and you'd feel it grab. The issue with that is over time those teeth would wear. This is on an actual cylinder. You can feel it, so it's a little higher quality. We have a new shuttle lever with a reverse. You can hear that. Somebody might think that's annoying, but it's built in. And then there's a shield under it. So on the old model, it was just there. We usually wouldn't be a problem because you'd have your seat safety switch engaged, but for anybody who disengaged that, which you're not supposed to do, you could throw it into forward by walking by it. So this shield is much needed. Over here we got a ton of room with 2 cup holders, not just one, 2 cup holders. We got a USB charger and a 12-volt charger. We got plenty of room down here. You've got your 540 or 540 economy PTO. That is standard. Probably another big change if anybody has an old RX. The gear shifter has been moved from the left side to the right side. It was kind of weird over on the left side, but there was a reason for that. But they've taken it and moved it over to the right. So if you can't beat them, join them. And it's right there. Your loader controls right here with a horn built in, and we already said those third function buttons are there. You've got standard remote, and then there's an option for 2 more. And then now your throttle is drive-by-wire. So it's actually, the throttle was always drive-by-wire, but there was an actual handle for it. Now it's on a button. And then your 3-point hitch is the same way. Now that we have an electro-hydraulic 3-point hitch, you can move it up and down with a button. And that's probably what I'd say. That electric 3-point hitch there probably gives you the most options through here. So there's all these different dials. You're going to be able to control how fast it moves up and down. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong button. That's your response setting for your shuttle, how fast it goes. You're going to be able to move your upper position and your lower position, and how fast it goes down with that lowering speed on the 3-point hitch, all under this panel. You can also engage draft control. You can turn it on and off, and there's an override. That's so you can turn on the PTO on the outside of the tractor. So if you hit that button, it'll beep at you, and then you can go into the back and you can turn the PTO on with that button. Still have your regular push button PTO. You've got your auto PTO sitting. You've got your four-wheel drive sitting. It's all right here on a button. PTO cruise control. And you've got this cool little cluster that I really like. It tells you what you're turning on with what buttons. So front work lights, rear work lights, rear wiper, front wiper, cab light, rear defrost. All that stuff's built in here. And then you've got a really cool panel for your drive controls. So you have a work or drive setting for your shuttle to basically just adjust how fast it engages. And then you've got a little increase or decrease you can do with that. And then you've got a comfort clutch option, which just changes how the clutch feels, and some settings for that. So a lot of really cool stuff all built into this panel. Really simple, really easy access. That is really neat. And we already talked about the air ride seat, but you've got some different pedals on the floor. So this is just a new material. It's for grip. It looks a lot better. And you've got a new foot throttle. That's actually directly out of the track loader. It looks really good and it feels really good. Besides that, if we're looking up top, now we've got an access window with a sunscreen. Check this out. You can close it off. But if you open this up, you can actually see the top of your loader. So I can see what's going on up there. And then everything in here I said standard. So we have a much nicer AC unit. That's all standard equipment. The radio is standard equipment now. The mirror is standard equipment. So nothing we're looking at is an option. You can see all this. And then probably the other big thing in the cab, I'm gonna start this. If you look, these vents are built in on the bottom. Used to be there were just 4 vents in the roof, but now we have nice bottom vents. They go around. You get a lot of air where you need it. The other cool thing is if you look up front, there's vents for the windows. So if anybody has the old RX, they know that getting it to defog, if it's really cold, can be kind of a chore. You have to wait. This one should do a lot better job defogging quickly. So a ton of improvements in here. If you sit in the new one versus the old one, I think you're going to be really, really impressed. The specs are good. The equipment's good, especially the standard equipment. And we didn't even talk about money. They came out swinging with this. So you're going to be using their 0% financing in the low 60s from us, and that's with the loader, that's with the tires filled. This tractor with the tires filled is going to end up just over 10,000 pounds. So that's out of the box, 10,000 pounds, a little over 60 grand. If you don't use that 0%, you're going to get this cash discount that's going to put this thing in the high 50s. And that's going to compete in a market where these things now, tractors this size with this equipment, are selling well into the $70,000 range. So it really came out swinging, and it's definitely worth a look. If you guys are interested and you want to price one, check out our website, www.kitnequipment.com, or if you have any questions, feel free to call me. I love talking to you guys. I get phone calls from all over the country now, and it's not like I'm not really selling tractors to these people. I always tell them to go shop at their local dealer, but it's cool to have those conversations. So my name's Nathan. I'm the sales manager at Kioti Equipment Company, and I appreciate you all watching. If you got anything else, just give us a call. Thanks.